everybody, thank you for coming. I'm excited to see you guys are here. I know that this is kind of a small area, but Shawnee Mission has donated their space to us to use this, so we take what we can get for now. As you probably already know, but the purpose of our group meeting today is kind of just to get to know each other. We're kind of just going to work on building relationships with each other and, looking for that support. Sounds like a lot of you guys are the person who supports your loved one or the person that takes care of somebody in your family with mental illness or addiction or whatever it is. So sometimes we need our own place to kind of get away from that. So that's what we're going to do today. If you guys want to, kind of just go around and share your name, and if you want to share who it is in your family, if you're comfortable. If you're not, just your name would be great because I want to know what to call you. So we can start with you if you'd like.
My name's Molly, and my husband has problems with alcohol. He is an alcoholic, and it causes problems sometimes in our marriage when he is drinking.
How long have you guys been married?
About a little over a year now. We've been together for a longer time.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what is your name?
My name's Izzy.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello. My sister, she's had to be in the hospital lots of times. She has psychosis. They're not really sure exactly what's going on with her, so it takes a lot of our time in our family.
Sure.
There's not really a lot of time for anybody else.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of hard, yeah. Not really sure that she wants help. I don't really think she realizes that she's actually ill, so.
That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
I'm Courtney.
Hey, Courtney.
And my father is a schizophrenic bipolar. He's very hyperactive. He hears things, sees things, and he just wears us all out. He doesn't ever stop. And just like Izzy, he's in and out of the hospital.
Okay. When you guys say hospital, do you mean inpatient psychiatric treatment?
Yes.
Okay. I gotcha. That's a little different than from your situation.
Yeah.
Has your husband ever been to treatment?
No.
No. Oh, that seems like that is a point of frustration for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like to admit that he has a problem. Well, he'll admit that maybe he has a problem, and he'll kind of stop drinking for a while, but then he'll start drinking again, and he'll be like, "Oh, I think I have a problem," but he won't ever, go to the hospital.
I see.
So it's frustrating.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, one of the things I think I want to start out with is, and some of the things I think we can lose sight of sometimes, are the strengths of these people. So we're going to be doing a lot of going around, in case you haven't noticed. But one or two things that you just really love or care about that person, something that is important, means a lot to you about that person. So Courtney, do you want to start? I don't want to always make you go first.
Yeah, I'll start, I guess. He's really smart. I mean, he's very intelligent, and I feel like some of that intelligence has been passed on, so I appreciate that, but he's still very, doesn't necessarily know how to get that out or present that intelligence to us. But I do very much value the fact that he is very smart, and he is very caring when you get deep down to it.
Awesome. What about you, Izzy?
She's a good person, I think, at heart. And I think, she just struggles and she's selfish because of what's going on. But I think when you really, get to know her and down deep, I think she's I think my sister has a lot of good qualities, but I don't think that, you can't really see them a lot because she's so sick, which makes her so selfish. But I think she's a really good person, and she's really, caring, kind of like what Courtney said. And I think she's also, you know, really creative, artsy,
Okay.
which I think is really cool. But, you know, she's not really able to show that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I noticed when you were talking about her that you were able to separate her from her illness. And I think
Mhm.
that's so important to be able to say, you know, a lot of these things that go on are not her as a person. It's what's, you know, it's this thing that she's battling. So I think that's says a lot about you. Thank you very much. Obviously something, he's your husband, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he, despite, you know, like how you said, separating the illness from the person, despite the fact that he has this illness, he's always, even though he's struggling, he's always been able to be there for me when I've needed him. So he's never let the fact that he has this illness get in the way of being supportive of me and our relationship. So that's something that is good. And like Courtney said, he's very intelligent and very smart, and I think sometimes it's hard for him to communicate that appropriately and have people understand his feelings, and I think maybe that's part of the
Sure. Sure. What are some things that you worry about? We don't have to go around in circles. You guys can kind of just share.
I worry that she's gonna accidentally overdose because so many times she tries to like kill herself, but I think it's more for like a cry out and just kind of like an attention seeking thing,
Okay.
which is part of her illness. But I also feel like one of these times she's gonna accidentally do it and then it's gonna be horrible.
Right.
So I
How
worry
do
about
you-
how that's gonna affect everybody.
How do you guys as a family react to that when she does overdose and she ends up
Honestly,
in the
we've
hospital
kinda,
or
like given up because like, you know, you try and you try, but like you can only give so much support, and then after a while it's kind of up to them
Right.
if they want to do anything about it.
Right.
So I think a lot of my family's just kind of checked out at this point.
Well, and I feel like, you know, how Izzy said, that's kind of how I feel sometimes too, because a lot of my family members, you know, don't really understand. They just feel like, oh, well, why can't he just stop doing that?
Mhm.
You know, I feel like if a person could just stop doing that, it wouldn't be an illness and it wouldn't be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, something they could just stop.
Right.
Because that would be simple, right? And that's something that I worry about too with my husband is, you know, what if he were to drive drunk and, you know, hurt someone or hurt himself, or, you know, people can die from alcohol poisoning too.
Right.
So that's the concern is always safety, I feel like.
I feel like my dad's gonna end up in trouble with the law
Mm-hmm.
because he's very impulsive
Mhm.
and he doesn't necessarily think about the things that he's doing before he does them.
Right.
And I think eventually it's gonna catch up with him, and he's gonna do something kind of along the same lines as Izzy said. One of these days he might be successful with an overdose, or he might get mad while he's in the car and ram it into somebody or something. So that's something that I worry about.
So you're worried that the impulsive decisions may land him somewhere that was not the intention necessarily.
Right. Either whether it be with, you know, in jail, or whether it be same as Izzy, you know.
Right. As far as your roles in your own families, do you feel like you're kind of the last person do you feel like you're the only person who's really supportive of your family member? Do you feel like you have a couple of other people that help you out a little bit? Where do you kind of fit into your own families as far as your relationship with this person?
I feel like the rest of our family's checked out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Izzy was saying. I mean, they've gotten to the point where they've been dealing with this for so many years, it wears on you.
Mhm.
And when you can't just up and fix the problem, you know, there's no cure-all medication, there's no anything along those lines that's going to fix it and make it go away.
Right.
And at this point, the rest of the family's checked out. I've been dealing with it since he's been my dad, but his parents, my grandparents,
a very
they've
good
been
point.
dealing with it his entire life.
Right.
So they're done. You know, my mom, she's done. They're all done. And I'm the last one that's left.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I kind of feel like no one else really gets it, and they don't think that it's like, they think it's just a behavior that she can fix, but it's part of her illness, and you know, part of that's her not really wanting to like really get better because she kind of likes being ill in a way because it's easier,
Mhm.
and so I think I'm the only one who's like still kind of hanging in there a little bit, but it's hard because I kind of want to do my own life too.
Sure.
Right.
And it's hard to have your own life when you're one of the few support for somebody who's that ill. So
It's hard to establish relationships outside of the family
Yeah.
too.
Oh man, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
well, it's
You
not
know.
really something that you want to tell people.
right, and looking
Mhm.
for somebody to be willing, like to get married, be willing to come into that
Mhm.
kind of family
Mhm.
situation. And I have met people that are like, oh, well, it runs in your family. I don't want it running in our genes.
Right.
I don't
Like,
want to
oh,
pass
what
that
if it
along.
happens to you?
Right.
That's a very good
Mhm.
point.
So,
And that's something that I worry about with having kids is,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
it does, it's something that could be genetic, and,
Right.
I've seen him struggle and our families struggle, and, it's something that I do worry about.
Does his family? Is there people who struggle with alcoholism in his family?
Yeah, but they don't really, call it alcoholism, they just call it drinking.
Just drinking a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's such a hard thing to define these days. I feel like people, they just don't want to call it anything. But when you're with a person 24/7, when you're, you gotta know what it is.
Right. It impacts your life too.
Yeah.
Sure. I like that it was caught me off guard, but I like that you mentioned that you worry about how it's perceived by other people. Have you ever felt like you needed to defend your family member, whether it was to somebody else in your family even,
Oh, yeah.
or just
Mhm.
yeah,
I feel like when people throw around the words like crazy and stuff like that, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, but not really."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really
It can be
offensive.
hurtful, yeah.
Mhm. And I mean, like pop culture and stuff, you hear all these
Right.
songs that throw that word out there, and it's like, no, you can't take that lightly,
right,
Mhm.
right.
So,
Well, and it concerns me too with, kids drinking young and in college, and they're drinking so much, and, most people move on from that and they calm down some, but not everyone does, and,
Right.
Mhm.
drinking is legal and it's so easy to, just go get gas and you're at the gas station, you come out with beer, and then,
Mhm.
Yeah.
there's liquor stores everywhere, and it's fine because it's oh, there's a barbecue, oh, there's a wedding, oh, there's Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
oh,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
always,
There's always something.
Do you
Yeah.
think that makes it easier for people to pretend like that's not a problem?
yeah.
To look at people doing meth or heroin and be like, oh my gosh, they
Yeah.
do meth. Oh my
Like-
gosh, they do heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but it's
Oh,
not.
that's a
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you can't go to the gas station and get
Yeah,
heroin.
Yeah.
Right.
Not most gas stations.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
there are some.
I still don't think it's legal though.
Right. That's
So
a very
it's-
good point, though.
It's frustrating because I think there's always an excuse, and then, if I'm the one that's, because I know, people always look at me as the Debbie Downer person, but, I'm just concerned.
Right.
It's hard to go to family functions too,
Mhm.
because like reunions where it's like family that you haven't seen in forever, they know the situation already. They know going into it, he's got a problem. So there's already that tension before you even step foot in the door.
Right.
Like it's
You know, they're driving up there thinking, oh, Uncle so and so.
right, and they
Mhm.
don't want that. They don't
Mhm.
want to deal with it.
It's
Me,
just,
I
like,
deal with it every
constant
day.
Drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just act like, oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't
Right.
deal with this person.
Right.
And it's like you feel defensive, and at the same time you feel like they're trying to like act like you don't exist. You know?
Right.
So it's hurtful because it's your own family.
Right.
And I feel like people want to blame somebody.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, it's your guys' parents.
Mm,
Well, that's just not true.
right.
So.
It's like walking on eggshells
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it's not my fault that he's the way he is.
Right.
But they almost expect, like with sister or
Mhm.
dad, they almost expect you to have something wrong too.
Right.
That's a good point. The idea that people are kind of watching and waiting. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
when
Like,
is it
when
gonna
are
be?
you gonna show
Mhm,
signs that
mhm.
you're the same way?
Well, and I feel that with me too. Like, you know, I feel like, well, maybe if you would have calmed him down more when you got married or something, you know, that's supposed to,
Yeah.
or maybe if you would do this or do that.
Or like, what's wrong in your?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it's something that I've done, but this isn't something that's just started, you know,
Mhm.
this is
Mhm.
something that's been growing.
You mentioned some of your family members that are checked out or that are kind of over it. How do you feel like they treat you as kind of the one that's still hanging on, the one that's still trying to help?
I feel like they're almost like, what is she doing? Like, why is she doing this?
Mhm.
Why is she putting herself through this?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
They don't really
what's
understand.
wrong with her to consume all of her time with that person?
Right.
It's almost like they're waiting for you to
Right.
check out too.
Right.
Like you
Like,
know
get
that
on
it's
the
coming.
boat.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like they treat you as if you're the one that's still linking them to that person? Like, God, if
Yeah.
Courtney would just get away from the situation, we'd all be over. We all wouldn't be dealing with it anymore.
Kind of. Sometimes I feel like my family thinks that I'm like aiding in the situation
Okay.
because I haven't checked out and there's still somebody there that cares. He's still allowed to act like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they almost feel like if I just completely checked out and we all just completely checked out, then he would just magically get better.
Okay. That's a good point.
And it's not,
Right.
it's not like that.
That's not real. Yeah.
Right.
And my
Right.
fear is like if I'm the last one, so if I like check out, then she will go ahead and
Right.
end, because then who else does she have?
Mhm.
That's
Right.
that's the rest of the support. So
Right.
Yeah, that's something that I worry about too, is because my family doesn't really understand why, like, I would, you know, choose this path or whatever.
Right. Your situation's a little different than theirs in that, you know, you can't choose your families necessarily, but this is something that you've made this choice. This is someone that you've chosen to,
Mhm.
you know, so that must be kind of, do you find yourself defending your marriage to your family?
Yeah, I feel like I do somewhat. I feel like my family doesn't really. It's not that they don't care, but they're just kind of like, well, it's your problem. You can deal with it, kind of.
Right,
But
you
I
chose
also
that.
feel like they are just kind of like roll their eyes at it. But I feel like his family is the same way, because they're just kind of like, oh, you know, that's Bobby. That's how he is. I don't know. So, you know, that's frustrating at times, because they just see it as, you know, that's him. That's how he is. But, you know, I see it as this is a disease that we're dealing with, because, you know, we both know that it's not a choice. No one just says, oh, I think I'm going to do this for Lindsay.
Right.
You know?
What are some of the sacrifices that you've had to make to support your loved one?
I have lost a lot of friends, and even like growing up, like my friends did not want to come over.
Sure.
As soon as they found out the situation, they didn't want to come over to the house. They didn't want to do anything because, again, it was like walking on eggshells. You never knew when he was going to fly off the handle, and they would see just a hint of anything, and they'd be like, "I'm out. I don't want to deal with that."
Right.
yeah, I've lost like a lot of friends too, and like relationships, because no one wants to come over to the house. You can't really go to like family events or like school events. Like
Right.
everything, like all the sports and stuff that I used to play, I kind of had to stop because we had to take time away to focus on her. So,
Sure.
And the finances struggle too.
Right.
Being in and out of the hospital, it's like
And it's
insurance
kinda
doesn't
like,
cover all of that.
Yeah.
No.
And then, like, if
no.
we need something, or like if I need to go to the doctor or something, well, it's not really a priority. So,
That's a good point.
wow.
Do your loved ones realize that you are that person, that you care for them? How do you feel that they reciprocate, or that they let you know that they're thankful for you? Do they ever let you know that they're thankful for you?
I wouldn't necessarily say thankful.
Okay.
But there are times where he will have like those breakdown moments, and it's like the tears come flowing, and he's like, "I know you have to deal with this," and you know, so it's not necessarily, "Hey, thanks for everything that you put up with," but I know that you're still my support. Like, I know I have a problem. At least he can admit he has a problem. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously that he has a problem, but it's not necessarily a appreciative.
Right.
It's not necessarily like a, hey, thanks for all you do.
Right.
It's just like a, hey, I'm super drunk this time, and I feel like today, instead of being angry and like breaking some dishes, I'm gonna, be nice and tell you how much I appreciate you standing by my side, or
Right.
something like that, And that's kind of scary because I never know which side I'm gonna get. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
could get the nice, caring side or the other one. But sometimes there is. I think that he realizes deep down inside, but it's hard for him to show that.
Half the time, I don't even think he knows.
Right.
This might be for you guys too.
Right.
How much we actually
Yeah,
invest
I
in
don't
them.
think she realizes. I think she's so wrapped up in this. I don't think she
Mhm.
realizes like what it's doing to other people.
Mhm.
And like, there's moments where she's like back to herself a little bit, and we can kind of have the same relationship we did like growing up before she was sick.
Mm-hmm.
But and in those times, she's like, not necessarily says it, but you can just tell that she's glad that I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
But then she just goes back down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What is your absolute biggest frustration? If you had to choose one of all the things that frustrate you the most about this, what is the most frustrating thing?
I would just say like the daily responsibility of it.
Okay.
Because I feel like having to, I have a job, I have, myself, because I'm a person too. I get upset about things, I have problems of my own. You feel like you're on all the time. You have to be on all the time and concerned all the time. I feel like I never have time to breathe sometimes and just be like, have a problem of my own, because I'm always concerned of what's going to happen with him or how he's going to be and things like that. And I feel like I can never just, have a minute to myself, I guess.
Yeah, I would say because it's almost like she's given up. And so it's like, we've been over backwards, everybody at least at some point, to like be there. So like, why would you just take the easy path when we've been taking the hard path all this time? Like, it's not a life sentence. You can get help, you can make it better, you can manage the symptoms. And it's like she's almost choosing not to do that. She's just gonna go in the hospital, stop taking her meds, maybe overdose, just like so unpredictable. So that's really frustrating. She won't put the same effort in a way.
I think my biggest frustration with the whole situation is that people don't understand. Everybody outside of us doesn't understand. Even the family doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It is an illness. It's not. He did not choose to be like this. That he is really sick, and the outside world doesn't understand that.
Right.
And they cast this overbearing negativity towards him, and it's like. It's not his fault.
Right.
Just give me the taper. Sorry to interrupt.
you're fine.
Let me just click that. So
You got it. We'll just do that. We have like 10 more minutes. So if you could wave a wand and fix the situation. Now, we obviously can't just automatically make them not, schizophrenic or, that sort of thing. So maintaining their illness that exists, but if you could wave a wand to fix things, what would that look like for you? What would it look like for your family? What would it, how would that experience be?
I would just want maybe more support from the family.
Sure.
Like you said, we can't fix it, we can't make it go away, but if there were more people willing to invest their time and their effort, then maybe it wouldn't all fall back on me.
Maybe you'd have like more time for you.
Right. Because I want to have my life too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which is really hard to do when you're the primary person.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, just extra support, I think.
do you feel supported by, and you guys I know mentioned inpatient, did you, when they go to the hospital, do you feel supported by the people there? Do they have any interaction with you at all? The people that are treating them? That are treating your loved ones?
They do, and I feel like while she's there, it's good. But I just know that she's gonna leave anyway,
Oh yeah.
and so like the staff there can tell us things, but it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, she's just gonna walk out the door, and then probably be back in a week or two.
Gotcha.
So I feel like she needs more long term.
Okay.
But like, I don't feel like my family is gonna be supportive of that either because I don't want to pay for it.
Right. Well, yeah. Finances is obviously a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Huge part of the stress. We've talked a lot about the things that frustrate you or worry you or concern you. What kind of things do you do in terms of self-care? What kind of things do you participate in self-care? Do you take the time to do what you need to do to keep yourself going well enough to help this person?
There's not a lot of time for self-care.
Valid
It
point.
is-
I think that's very important to know.
It is a full-time job in and of itself. A full-time unpaid job.
Right.
Where we actually have to pay.
Mhm.
But these groups are one. You know, it's
Mhm.
nice to see that you're not alone
That's good.
in
Yeah.
the situation.
I think it's helpful to have these groups and to be able to like meet people that are feeling the same things that you are, even if it's not the exact same thing, but to just know that other people have to deal with it too.
And somewhere where you can talk about it and like people actually understand what you're going through versus like your friends. You also don't really want to put that on them.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's hard to be able to go do anything. Like you can plan a trip or you can
Right.
plan outings
But
with
you
your
really
friends.
can't because
No.
if something happens, then
Right.
you have to drop everything.
Right.
Sure.
And your friends get tired of it. They get sick of you having to tell them, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to leave.
Right.
He's acting out again."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And it's hard
so-
to get closer to friends and family
Mhm.
when you don't really have a lot of time for them.
And you know they're judging you the whole
Right.
time too.
Sure.
So.
It's not, it's not in their backyard. It's not their problem.
Mhm.
Do you have a friend, like one person that you know supports you and is there for you the majority of the time? Maybe not all the time, but do you at least have somebody other than your family that you can go to and just say, I'm so tired right now, or I'm so frustrated?
Yeah.
That's good.
My best friend actually works in the industry, so
Mhm.
she's somebody that's definitely there when, nobody else is. It's nice to
Right.
go to her and be like, I know you have to deal with it at work, but I do appreciate you talking to me
Right.
about it outside of work.
And my best friend, like, I grew up with her, so she's known my sister too, so she knows more of the background, which I think helps her understand more.
Yeah.
So.
She remembers when she wasn't always.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my situation too. We've been friends for years,
Right.
so.
Well, I want to take a time to kind of take one piece from each of you about things that over the next few sessions you wanna focus on. So take kind of a second to think about that, and then we'll go around and talk about that because I don't necessarily have the same experiences that you do. I have, the education or sort of around that sort of thing, but I don't have the life experience that you all have, and so I want to make sure that the things that we're talking about are pertinent to your life and not just something that we have in our book. We are going to be using a 12-week curriculum called Family to Family, and it's been created through NAMI. If you guys, I don't have to tell you, but the National Association for Mental Health, and so that's the work the guidelines sort of that we'll be using. But I want you to feel like we can kind of shape and mold it to whatever it is that's going on in your life. That may change by next week. Obviously, you guys are all in a pretty unpredictable situation, so you never know. Your needs may change. There may just need to be one day where you just want to vent. But what kind of things do you want to look at and do you want to focus on for the work that we're going to be doing?
I would think it would be like helpful to kind of look at some of the science behind mental disease
Okay.
and mental disorders to better maybe because it sounds like all three of us understand like that it is a disease, but maybe to just understand a little bit more.
The physiological sort of
Mhm.
aspects of it, sure. Okay. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you've said that several times when you say that people think that it's a choice. I think it's important to understand that,
Yeah.
and most certainly
Yeah.
is not.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't treat somebody with cancer as if they were choosing to have
Right.
cancer.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I hear you.
I think the biggest thing that I find myself consistently struggling with is, I've got on the one hand, like I have to be there for my dad. I nobody else
Mm-hmm.
can be. So I struggle with this whole divide between being that supportive family member, but still being really upset about the situation. Like
Right.
I want to love him wholeheartedly, but I also have a lot of almost hatred, if you will. Not necessarily hatred, but a lot of disappointment
Mm-hmm.
in a situation. And I want to kind of come to terms with both of those and find a way to manage that anger, but find my peace and my love towards him.
Right. Kind of acknowledging
Yeah.
the frustrations while still maintain the support for that person.
Right.
Just the balancing. I think that's a really, really good point. I think that's something that, leads to that burnout feeling that,
Yeah.
that you guys have kind of described other
Right.
people in your family.
Right. And that's what I don't want. I don't want to get to the point because, just like Izzy said, I think if I leave, then he's done
That's
for
it. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, and that's a scary feeling because I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst feelings that you can feel in that situation is
Like that responsibility.
Kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of a combination of responsibility and helplessness. What a weird,
Yeah.
what a weird place to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess I kind of want to know how to set like better boundaries with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be making it worse.
Right.
Like I want to be supportive, but like if she is attention seeking, then how do I handle that? 'Cause
Right.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Would you guys have any other questions right now or anything else that you want to talk about? I don't think so. Okay. I'm going to send you a little bit of homework. One of the things I do want you to do is, I don't know if it's keeping notes on your phone or a little log or something, but just kind of as things come up throughout the week, nothing specific, just things that you think, oh, I want to talk about that in group. Just jot it down. You can email me, call me, or you can just keep the notes with you, and we'll talk about it when we get back next. Well, it'll be the Thursday after next because we do every other Thursday. There's an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that meets in the same place the other 2 Thursdays. So we only get 2 for now, but it's free, so we're sticking with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea because I always think of things that are
Yeah.
And
when
then
they're
you just
happening,
forget.
and then you're like, oh, because it's almost like you block it out. I
Oh,
don't know.
sure.
You guys feel that
Mhm.
way, but
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, I'm so frustrated. I wish I could talk to someone about this right now, but I can't because I'm handling this situation.
Right.
Yeah, because I have to deal with it.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then you and then you're talking to someone about it later, and you don't remember why you were so upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
And I know I don't want to add to the list of things that you already have to do, but just for yourself,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a quick note about something that you may want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Got to cut out the report and